Continuing our special show, what makes a good movie villain? Well, I've already mentioned the most important quality. They've got to enjoy doing evil. Here's an example from 1994. Dennis Hopper in Speed, the best of the many mad bombers we've been getting lately.
A woman caught in the blast fell. She was pulled under the wheels. This is terrible.
Interactive TV, Jack, wave of the future.
Another key ingredient to being an effective bad guy or gal is intelligence. James Woods typically plays smart bad guys, as in against all odds.
Listen, you didn't finish the job, so I don't owe you the rest of the money, okay? I figure you just came over today to say we're still friends.
So I guess for me, those are the two crucial qualities that make a great villain. They're smart, and they enjoy it.
And maybe the third quality in modern movies particularly is they're so well-dressed and so well-behaved. You know, in the old days, it was always the heroes who really looked great, and
yes,
the villains who kind of came in needing a shave, you know. And today, when you go to the movies, it's always the villain who looks like he walked right out of the pages of GQ.
They don't have a regular job, so they have plenty of time to shop for clothes, I guess.
Apart from villains who are just plain hateful, my favorite villains are those who are funny, or charming, or very weird. There are certain things I'm happy to find in a movie villain. For example, ingratiating smarminess, as demonstrated here by M. Emmett Walsh, the crooked, greedy private eye in Blood Simple.
Give me a call whenever you want to cut off my head. I can always crawl around without it.
Or an interior struggle between good and evil, as with Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins in The Silence of the Lambs. It was as if, given his twisted nature, he was as good as he could be.
You think if Catherine lives, you won't wake up in the dark ever again to that awful screaming of the lambs.
Now, a common thread of a lot of those villains is that they are all male, but one interesting thing about the later 80s and now in the 90s is that there are so many more female villains than there used to be, and maybe that's telling us something about ourselves, too. We're going to look at that when we come back. Continuing our special show on villains, so bad they're good. We've gotten this far without using the term anti-hero, and yet a lot of Hollywood villains do fall into that category. They exist in a world so bleak and empty of moral values that their behavior is like a statement saying, things may be rotten, but at least I still exist. Some of the strongest and most controversial recent films fall into that category, including Oliver Stone's Natural-Born Killers, in which Woody Harrelson and Juliette Lewis were killers who became media celebrities.
But they always leave one clerk alive to tell the tale of Mickey and Mallory.
Or look at Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs with its career criminals who try to maintain a certain professionalism even as all of their plans are falling to pieces.
And you give yourself a couple of seconds, you get a hold of the situation, you deal with it. What you don't do is start shooting up the place and start killing people.
And, of course, the most influential example of this trend, Bonnie and Clyde from 1967, once again with killers who become media darlings.
Hold it, hold it!
Movies like that create the most controversy because you either get the message or you're offended by it. Is Natural-Born Killers about the way criminals are glamorized by the media? Or is it an example of killers being glamorized by the media? Well, I think you can make a case for either side of that question, which is one reason such movies are so intriguing. They force you to take a stand.
I also think they come out of a mindset that says, I don't believe in traditional good guys anymore. I think that the bad guys might be the good guys, and so I'm going to take a look at the bad guys as a way of highlight the conventional bad guys and put them up on top and maybe look elsewhere to see what the causes of evil are. I think that's what's going on.
And what they're saying then is that the bad guys are symptoms of some kind of a deep illness in society.
Okay, let's get to the women. The most obvious area in which the movies glamorize villains is with women. It's been a long time since we've seen an ugly villain like decades ago with Lotte Lenya in From Russia with Love. Today, the leading female villains are played by bombshells, such as Teresa Russell in Black Widow.
Mr. Shin, I'll tell you two things about me. I'm very rich. And I'm very wealthy.
And Rebecca De Mornay in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
When your husband makes love to you, it's my face he sees.
And Linda Fiorentino in The Last Seduction.
No names. Meet me outside.
Now, what's going on with these bad beauties? And I mean beautiful. These are some of the most beautiful women in the movies, and they're playing very bad characters. I think they play into modern American man's fear of the liberated woman. Also, the notion that sex is dangerous can be very exciting to audiences. Bombshell bad girls are a way of safely sneaking in a little S&M into mainstream entertainment.
You know, I think you're right with all 3 points, and there's another point. I really want to get cynical now.
Okay.
It's been pointed out that very rarely do the movies have realistic three-dimensional portraits of women.
Right.
And yet we have all of these female roles in which women are killers, they're sadistic, they're dangerous, they're vipers, they're going to chew you up and spit you out.
Right.
And I think that maybe that reflects an idea in Hollywood about women, a kind of a fear of women in Hollywood.
I've questioned that before. Do they like women out there? And I think the answer is, based on what we're getting, no. When we come back, we'll name, each of us, our favorite villains in movie history. Concluding now our special show on villains so bad they're good, it's time for Roger and me to select each of our favorite villains in movie history. And I decided I couldn't really choose among the worst or the most sinister bad guys, so I went out into left field, so to speak, for my favorite villain, out into space, actually, for the most surprising villain I've ever seen in a motion picture. Let's just start the movie, and I'll let you discover the villain the fabulous way we all did some 27 years ago.
Well, as far as I know, no 9,000 computers have been disconnected.
Well, no 9,000 computers ever fouled up before.
That's not what I mean.
Huh?
Well, I'm not so sure what he'd think about it.
Yes, it's the power-mad HAL 9000 computer in Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, here eavesdropping on astronauts Keir DeLay and Gary Lockwood. Eventually, DeLay tries to dismantle HAL over the machine's protest.
I honestly think you ought to sit down calmly, take a stress pill, and think things over.
What's the real evil in HAL? No, not the computer chip. It's the impulse to control others, the people that built the computer, the root cause, I think, of so much of the evil in the world. Unlike most every villain in the movies, even the great ones, HAL wasn't introduced to us as a bad guy. He just shocked us in a way that none of us will ever forget.
And I remember that so clearly, Gene, when I was watching the movie. I thought, oh my God, HAL is not on their side.
Unbelievable.
He's mad because they want to run the space station.
And isn't it true, Roger, that the idea to control is really, if you come down to it, it's the evil person makes the judgment, I have the right to control you.
Okay, when I was asking myself for the name of my favorite villain, there wasn't an instant of doubt in my mind. I didn't have to wait 1 second to know that his name was Harry Lime, and he was played by Orson Welles in the title role of the great 1949 movie named The Third Man. Harry Lime doesn't even turn up until the last third of the movie as a black marketeer whose adulterated medicine has killed innocent children. But when he does, it's the most famous entrance in movie history. And the movie ends with a famous chase in the perfect place for a rat like Harry, the sewers. Harry Lime is a liar, a killer, and a fraud, but he is also very intelligent and charming enough to fool both his best friend and his best girl, even while betraying both of them. He's my favorite movie villain of all time, and I think we picked a couple of good ones, and those movies wouldn't even exist if it weren't for their villains.
That's it for this special show. Next week, we'll be back with a look at some more great video rentals for summer in a special show we're calling The Sunny Side of the Screen. Hot weather movies, that's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.